Well, welcome everyone and Happy New Year. It is January 1st, 2021, and I thought I'd come out to the garage and just kind of do a bit of a rear view mirror look at where I've been for the last year on the car and kind of where I'm planning on going for the next year. So basically, as you can tell by the history of my videos, there was a lot of rust restoration on this vehicle, so that took up most of the original time. Now, I was not recording back then, in all honesty. I was just some guy in a garage and I started working on a 68 Mustang. I was looking for some resources on who has done this before so that I could emulate them. And of course, I found Barry at Joe Daddy's Garage. So if you're on this site but don't know about Barry over at Joe Daddy's Garage, go to Joe Daddy's Garage, which is a channel on YouTube. Now, the reason I didn't record a lot of that original video is because, as I said, I wasn't intending on doing this. And secondly, Joe Daddy did it already. So when it came to welding in the rear frame rails, I did exactly what he had said. I had cut them out, I had put the new ones in, I had done all the pre-measuring, I welded them in the way he recommended. So me doing it again and recording it was kind of redundant. But so what I decided to do then is I said, well, you know what, maybe I will put some videos together and start posting them. So I started creating the videos more as a recap as to what I've already done because I didn't record what I did. But now the videos, as I move forward, will start to document exactly what I did. Like, obviously, if you're on my site, I just redid these seats. Now, what did I do? I took 2010 Lincoln MKX front seats, which were full power tilt, back power, lumbar support, and I modified them so that they look like the original 1968 seat. And I hope you agree with me that they're pretty darn close. Now, this is not a concourse restoration, right? This is going to be a driver. My wife and I historically love traveling across Canada and the US. We love going across, the Blue Ridge Parkway. We go east and west. This car is going to get tens of thousands of miles on it. So it is going to be a driver. So comfort and safety were my priority, not originality. So from a history of the channel, I've got some gaps, but that again was because I had originally not intended on publishing. But now that I'm here, I'm now focused on things that are unique, that I'm doing unique to the car, because in all honesty, if I'm doing something everybody else has done, I really don't see why I'll record a lot of that. But when it comes to seats, when it comes to the power windows, which I've already showed you how I'm doing, or when it comes to a lot of the cool stuff that I'm also adding to this vehicle, like the next step is a new fuse box. Why? Well, I've added so much demand for power in this car. I've got power windows, I've got power seats, I've got a power roof, I'm going to be putting an aftermarket stereo in it. There are a number of things that I'm going to be adding to this vehicle. A fuse box that has 5 fuses in it is just not going to cut it. In fact, those 5 fuses, 2 of them are constant power, which are things that are going to run the cigarette light or the hazard lights and the brake lights, right? That's always going to work. And then you had the switch side of and interior lights. And of course, then you had the switch side of the fuse box, which ran the heater and ran a couple of other accessories, and that was it. I've got so much power in here. What I did is I bought a split fuse box. So a split fuse box actually has 2 separate circuits. 6 fuses for constant power, 6 fuses for switched power, big 40 amp relay. So as soon as I turn that key, it fires the second fuse box up, and that'll power up all of my accessories like the power roof and the power windows. But things like the power seats will always have power, because when you want to get into the car, before you can even get the key in the ignition, you may have to adjust the seat. So again, those are things that will have constant power, and I needed to upgrade that fuse box. That's the kind of stuff I'm going to record. So I'm going to be recording the migration from 5 fuses to 12 fuses. So that'll be one of the things I'm doing. The other thing I'm looking at doing, of course, is I have got some plans, obviously, on the body and the body work. Now, I have been documenting that. The hood is beautiful now. Remember, I showed you how you can use the 2K primer filler, and it is its own guide coat. As you're sanding, it's shiny when it's done, but when you're sanding, it's a dull, beautiful gray. So again, I've documented that. I'm going to be doing that for the entire car as we move forward. So like I said, we've got a lot of accessories we're going to be adding to the car. Another thing, fog lights. As you saw on my channel, I wanted to put fog lights on this car. But I want to turn those into running lights. So I'm going to be putting LEDs into those fog lights so that when the car starts, those fog lights will come on and will be on all the time while the car is running. Until, of course, I pull the headlight switch on. And when I pull the headlight switch on, a relay will shut off, or it'll disconnect the fogs, because the fogs will then turn off, and then the headlights will run. Now, of course, I'll have headlights with high and low beam, and I'll still, though, have the fog light switch, so I could override the relay so that even when the headlights are on, I can still pull the fogs on to really brighten my path. Again, safety. I want people to see this car coming. I don't want any of this stuff, well, I didn't see you, and pulled out in front of me. So like I said, these are a number of the things that I'm going to be doing to the vehicle, and I'm going to be documenting all of that. So interior, it's looking good. You can see the back seats are in. Now the back seats were just standard rebuild. So what did I do? I took the old back seats out, stripped off the old under the upholstery, and I found all of the fabric and everything inside had been chewed by mice. I mean, 50-year-old car, mice got into it. So what did I do? I took the frame all apart, cleaned up the back seats. I sprayed them with a black inverter, right? So it's a rust inverter on the back seats. And here's a couple of pictures. But basically, you take it down to the basic wire frame. And then what I did is I just reupholstered them. I went out and bought new burlap. So again, new burlap and of course foam. I used foam for the seats rather than the fabric that they want to use. And I built the back seats up exactly like I did the front seats. And, you know, there we go. So we got the full back seats done. Front seats are done. And like I said, you know, it's going to be just a progression now over the next few months. My biggest challenge, again, is the borders are closed. So, you know, getting some of the things I need to do is going to get delayed, obviously. You know, the engine rebuild is another thing that's on the list. It's a 289 C code car, as I mentioned before. So I found a machine shop. Obviously, they're going to be able to take the bores 30 over. Of course, they want the pistons first. They would rather bore to the piston size rather than just boring 30 over and then finding that the pistons I got are, you know, 29 over, right? So the idea is they want to make sure they have the pistons in their hand. They'll measure the pistons and then they'll bore that engine, and then of course then they'll balance those pistons for those for the bores. The other thing, of course, on that engine is that it's got a smog head. Now, why is that important? Well, a smog head comes from the 70s, which means it's already hardened, right? So it doesn't need lead in the fuel. So this car can run on unleaded. Now, problem with smog heads, though, is that they were very inefficient. They didn't flow at all. Good news, these heads have already been ported. Somebody went in there with a tool and ported all the heads. So it is a beautifully ported smog head that should flow enough. I mean, I'm not building a monster here. You know, I'm not building a 347 or anything like that. This is going to be a 289. And, you know, if I can squeeze a couple of 250 horsepower out of it with a full roller engine, full cam, that's fine. Like I said, this is going to be for driving and, you know, just pleasure, right? So if you're interested in keeping up with me, please subscribe. Like I said, it is just a channel documenting me working on this car, and I'm glad you're here. And as I said, let's hope 2021 is better than 2020 was. We can see the light at the tunnel, at the end of the tunnel, but, you know, I think we're still 3 or 4 months away before I'm able to go get more parts for this car. So I'll probably just be working on body and things like that, which I can do at this time. So once again, thank you all for joining. Have a wonderful day. Talk to you soon.